Hello YouTube, this video is about how to prep a guitar for sale. So I've got my Epiphone SG here, and a friend of mine's been after this guitar for a long while. He's always said it was his favourite of all of mine, despite its flaws. It's got a few little scratches on it. It's had a neck repair, which is how I got it so cheap in the first place, and I'm selling it in to pretty much the same price, just include the price of the case. It's got some lovely iron gear pickups in it. It's the Tesla Shark and the rolling mill on the neck, and I just thought I'd show you how to set it up nicely. So the first thing would be to make sure it's relatively in tune. So there you go. So the first thing is to make sure that the guitar is in tune. So you should tune it up, and then you should give the strings a good old stretch. Now what I do to do this is, I lay my hand flat over the neck, and I grab the string from underneath, and I sort of pull ever so slightly, and then move along with my hands, and do this bit by bit down the sections of the neck. And what this is doing is taking any stress out of the string, where otherwise you might bend, and it releases the tension and goes flat. So I'm doing this before you even start playing it, so that in theory there'll be no slack left in the string and it won't cause any tuning issues. And if you do that to all 6 strings and then tune up, hopefully the strings wouldn't be able to move anymore. If they do move more, it might be the nut, which brings me on to my second point. Secondly, you slacken off the strings, take one of them out of the nut. So one by one, you take it out of the nut, get a pencil, and you just go like that in the nut to put a load of graphite in there. You can also do that with a razor blade and just put little shavings in there. Or you can use a stick of Vaseline or lip balm or something like that with petroleum in it, that's sort of a jelly. And you do that, and that lubricates the string and the nut so that it won't catch in the nut. Again, this is to help the guitar stay in tune. Once you've done that to all the strings, tune it back up. Step 3 is to check the intonation of the guitar. So you see you've got the saddles down here. I've got a roller bridge, so it might look different from your guitar, but the concept is the same. You've got these saddles here where the string goes over from the tailpiece or wherever, and you want to make sure that the note at the 12th fret is the same as the harmonic. So let me show you. You put your finger lightly over the fretboard and at the 12th fret, and that note is the octave of the open string, and then you fret that note at the 12th fret, and they should be the same. If they're slightly sharp or slightly flat, you might want to use a tuner for this. I personally prefer to do it by ear, but that's just me being weird. I don't have a problem doing it by ear, but yeah, by all means use a tuner. They should be the same. If it's too sharp, you might want to move the saddle back. If it's too flat, you might want to move it forward, which raises the pitch of the fretted notes. Obviously tune your guitar back up, make sure it's all in tune. You'll have to make sure you retune as you adjust the intonation, because when you move the saddle back, it will basically be pulling the string sharp if you think about it, because it'll be stretching it more. So you want to down tune and tune back up. Always down tune and tune back up. Don't just go down to the note, because again it can catch in the nut. We've lubricated it, but still you need to go down past the note and sweep back up to it, so that when you bend it won't release that tension and go out of tune. The next step is to make sure that all the controls are working fine. So this is an SG, it's got 2 volumes and 2 tones, 1 for each pickup. So I'll just go from the neck and I'll just give it a play and check they're not scratchy or anything. If they are scratchy, there's a video on my channel about this. You can go into the back of the guitar and just use some contact cleaner to clean out the potentiometers, and you should be fine. So here we go. scratchy there, no problems. Move to the middle setting, check it's both pickups. Neck volume down, that's fine. Bridge volume again, fine. Bridge tone's fine as well. We're lucky, no scratchiness on any of them. So the next step is the tuners. So you've got the Grover style here, and you can see there are screws on the end. Now what I sometimes like to do is to take a tool, and use my multi-tool for this example, and I just like to give them a slight, very slight turn, just to make sure that these tuners are nice and tight. Not very tight, just give them a little slight, just to feel a little bit of resistance and then stop. And it just stops the tuning heads from slipping, and it helps keep your strings in tune basically. Obviously after doing that, this would have moved around ever so slightly and retune it, which is again a way for you to check the action. You might go, these feel a bit uneven, you might want to even them out. So that's another thing you can do. The next thing I would say is the pickups. You've got to make sure that the pickups are reasonably the same in volume. So you might want to adjust the height of one of them to make it equal to the other. You see I've got my bridge pickup quite high there compared to the neck pickup. But I find if I don't have it that way, they're not evened out in output because they're not the same model. So I'm just going to go from bridge to neck, and you can just see they sound pretty even. By all means, if you've got a new set of strings, you can just include them with the guitar or put a new set of strings on. You don't have to, it's just sort of, it's etiquette, it's just a nice thing, it's a selling point, it shows you care about the guitar and shows you care about the deal and shows that you're trustworthy. These strings are still relatively new. In fact, the whole guitar setup is really new actually. I just haven't played this in ages because I've had so many other guitars and I've been obsessed with Strats. So this doesn't need it, but I would say if it does have old strings, by all means, snip them off if you want to, or just uncurl them and give the guitar a good clean. And the final thing I would say is, after giving it a clean, etc, etc, all the obvious stuff, fast fret. It's my secret weapon in the fight against bad tone. This stuff is brilliant. This stuff is brilliant, and what it is you get this little stick effectively made of, I believe it's wax, or either way, it's cloth or something soaked in industrial mineral oil, which smells like lemons, lemon oil as it's commonly called, but it isn't oil from lemons. Don't use oil from lemons in your guitar. It's bad for it, really bad for the wood, but this stuff is fine. So this is fast fret, and what this does is it stops your strings from dying, because all the nasty sweat and gunk from your hands and from the air will try and make the strings corrode. So after you finish playing, you should go like that, rub up and down the strings. After you've wiped over your strings, you get the included cloth and just go like that. Just give it a very light pass, just to get rid of any excess. And then most importantly, you leave it for a while. You say you leave it overnight, for example. I would say for a good while. And it will A, stop your strings from dying, and B, I find if your strings are a bit old and a bit dull and a bit dead, it makes them feel smoother and slicker, and it sort of revives them a bit and can keep them going. So I would definitely recommend doing that if you're selling your guitar. All of these should add up to a nice, pleasant experience for the person who tries out your guitar and buys it. Obviously you can use these tips in your own guitars to get them to play nicer, but I'm prepping this one for sale to a friend of mine who's wanted it for a long time. So I just thought, while I'm doing this, I might as well film it and go, this is how I get my guitars to play nice. So I hope this helps. Thank you very much for watching. Leave any questions in the comments and I'll try to get to them.
Bye!